Okay, we are recording in progress. Okay, so we might get a little bit interactive towards the end, but for the most part, I'm just going to talk at you like normal. No, I'm going to just give you a bit of an introduction. So,
I don't know whether they can see me. What can I see you?
Can you see me?
I can see you, yeah.
That's good. I can see you. You look bloody marvellous.
Just say a quick hello to Sean and then I'll go upstairs.
Hello. No. Come on, please don't pass me around the room. This is bad enough as it is. This is my first one. I'm pooping myself. Okay, everyone. Yeah, thanks. Come on.
You see everybody else on the screen as well, or not?
If you swipe across, you can see everybody else.
What do you mean? There's more of you?
Hello.
How do I know how many people are here? Right, this is where I'm a complete novice. How do I know how many people are here then?
On a laptop or are you on a mobile, Jessie?
Laptop. I'm on a laptop.
I'm on a mobile.
There should be an option.
There is a little. Surely there's only. I know, it's good. I can more or less see all of you. Some of you have got your videos off. That's fine. If you want to turn your videos off, you can. You don't have to be interactive in this first one.
I am here, but we've had a bit of a night. The little other half's upstairs still trying to put the little one to bed. So I'm cooking my tea while I'm with you guys here. So you get to join me cooking lasagna while we do this.
Excellent. So make sure you put that on mute because nobody wants to hear you cooking your lasagna.
No, I know. But I've been muting myself to tell you what it is, what I'm doing if you see me moving around. So I wanted to join in.
That's all right. If it gets to the point where it keeps, sometimes when it picks up movement, it goes back and it keeps putting you on the screen or whatever. Not that I mind somebody else taking the screen space because quite right now I'd really like that. I'm just glad I'm really small in the corner and I can't see myself because I don't like it. But if it keeps doing that, we'll just ask you to turn your video off if you're whizzing around the kitchen. We don't get to eat it at the end. Oh, nice wall hanging. Yeah, see?
Oh, Donna, I like that.
Yeah, see? I don't know how to stop it doing this where it's flicking everywhere. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I think I'm recording. It says I'm recording, so I think I'm recording. That's okay. If you're dipping in and out, no problem. I'm going to record it anyway. And quite honestly, the less people that see this, the better. In my opinion, this is the first one. Okay, so what this is going to be, ladies, is an monthly online class where we can really go into stuff that we don't have chance to go into in the coven. Now, I know some of you here are really quite advanced and you know loads of this stuff. But there's also some people who want to watch these videos who don't know anything about witchcraft, who don't know about the elements, who don't know about the moon cycles, who don't know. Somebody actually asked us the other day, what are the magical days like? What are they? Why do you do them? And it's like, so some people don't even understand the wheel of the year and what we're celebrating and all of this stuff, right? So as I'm sitting there deciding where we start, and my plan was to start with things like moon cycles and the kind of magic we do, depending on the phase of the moon. And the basics really for some of us, but for some people, they don't even know why we celebrate the Sabbats. So I remember when I didn't know anything, and there are still a lot of things that I don't know a lot about. So I'm going to start right at the beginning, really at the very beginning, because what I'm going to start with tonight is what is a witch? Like, what is a witch? It's a word we hear a lot these days. And obviously we run a coven, which is a place for witches and wild women. But the archetypes of the witch and what a witch is, there's still some shame. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this is two reasons, really. Firstly, that there are still people who come to the coven who tell their friends and family they're going to a book club or they're going to a Pilates class, and they don't actually say, oh, I'm going to my monthly coven meeting, because there's some shame or there's some fear about what people might think. And secondly, to talk about the different parts of us as a witch. Because when I was doing Reiki training recently, those ladies were in the coven. And we were talking, and we were obviously talking about healing, and we were talking about being a healer, and it became obvious to me that they thought that their Reiki training and that part of themselves was a very different part of themselves than the part of themselves that came to the coven. That they thought that, oh, I'm going to be a part of me is going to be a Reiki healer, and that's going to be me. But then there's this other part, this secret part that's a witch. And when I said, so do you see those two things as being separate? They were like, oh yeah, completely. Like they're not related. And I thought, wow, like we've been so repressed as women for so many centuries that actually even saying the word witch or telling somebody that we're going to a space where there's women gathering creates judgment, and it creates fear, and it creates, why do we need to feel the need to lie and say we're going to a Pilates class? Why can't we say, oh, I'm going to go and do spells with a load of other crazy bitches in a lovely space and it's going to be great? Why can't we say that? Why do we feel ashamed of that? So I think the first place to start with anything to do with witchcraft is, what is a witch? Like what do we see as a witch? The thing is, for centuries and centuries, until the last 150 years, we've worked with the seasons, we've worked with nature, all the indigenous tribes, all the Native Americans, whatever it is you look back to, the Indians, the Chinese, all the ancient cultures, they all understand. They all understand the elements. They all understand nature. They all understand the cycles of the earth, and they work with them and they honor them. And I think that's really, really important for us to understand the basics of what a witch is, because I can guarantee if there were 50 women here, then I really would be pooping my pants if there were 50 of you. But if there were 50 women here and I asked you all what it means to be a witch, you'd all say something different. You'd all have a different take on what it means to be a witch and what a witch is to you. And if you know me, you know that I encourage you to find your own way, to use your own intuition. And so whatever your version of a witch is completely right. Like, don't let any book or any person or any other witch tell you that that's wrong. I see it all the time in these witchcraft groups and all the things online. Oh, you're not allowed to do this and you shouldn't be practicing like that and you're not allowed to do this. It's like, for many, many years, I've been a solitary witch, and I've literally made it up as I went along. And you all know Gemma, and Gemma's very ancient in her witchcraft, and she's got a lot of history and a lot of ancestry behind all her learnings and her teachings. And she was mentored by a witch, and I didn't have any of that. I just liked all things witchy. And from the very moment that I was born, I can just remember being drawn to everything magical. So for years, I stumbled around in the dark and didn't really know what I was doing. And then when I started to learn it, I started to judge everything that I was doing. So I don't think that's the way it should be. I think our own magic, our own unique take on magic is ours. And you're right. Whatever you feel is right. But knowing the history of stuff and how things work and how to maximize that natural innate power is really, really important. And knowing who we are as a witch. So today, I want to talk about us as witches. And I want to talk about the archetypes of the witch. I'm going to pull a few cards as well for this. But there's going to be a little bit of homework as well if you want to do that. But really, the archetypes of the witch, the parts that make up the witch, because if you're a woman, you're a witch, would be my take on things. Like, not everybody identifies with that. Some people are so repressed that they're not in touch with that part of themselves. But as women, we are naturally able to we can create life. Like, most of you have got children. That's who we are. We're witches because we're women. But more than that, when we identify it with it, we take it to a whole new level. So today, we're going to look at the archetypes of the witch. I'm going to follow this up with basic sort of teachings. And I'm also going to invite people in. So if there's anybody that would like to do a guest spot on a speciality subject, then I'm really open to that. Whether that's earth magic, kitchen magic, whatever it is that you do, I think it would be really cool for you to start teaching as well. for you to feel your own wisdom, because just because you sit in that circle doesn't mean you're less than me or Gemma. Like, you've got your own bloody magic, and we want you to share it. So we want this space. We want you to come on and do it. Like, save me a job every month. But also, we want you to get into this stuff, to start teaching your own stuff, your own magic, if there's something you're really passionate about. And we want to make those spaces. So today we're going to look at the witchy archetypes and all the parts of us that make up a witch. And maybe there'll be parts that you really identify with. And maybe there'll be parts that you think, yeah, I never go near that part of myself. Or maybe right now you don't go near that part of yourself. So like the sorceress, the charmed and dangerous, the seductress, the succubus. I was her for about 10 years. I've got 9 engagement rings to prove it. Like, I was there. But I'm not in that space now. So through our life, we also go through these archetypes, like we go through stages of everything. And as we go through our life, as we go through maiden stage and mother stage and crone stage, and we start gathering all that wisdom, we go through these different archetypes. And I think before we even start learning about witchcraft, we should learn about ourselves as a witch. Who are we as a witch? Like, then, if we know who we are as a witch, we don't have to compare ourselves to other witches and think we're shit compared to them. Oh, they know about this. Yeah, that's because that's their forte. That's their part. And that's been a big learning with me and Gemma working together, because we're both really different. We both have different knowledge and different skills. And we both bring very different things. And at the beginning, we both compared ourselves to each other going, oh, well, I don't know about that. And it's like, oh, well, I don't know about that. And there was all this weirdness. It's like, yeah, that's why we work together, because we're not the same. There wouldn't be any point if we were carbon copies, would there? And, we're yin and yang. I'll leave you to decide which is the dark and the light. I think it changes on a monthly basis. But that we're learning about ourselves as witches, as women. And all that power, I could teach you all the power in the world, how to cast spells, how to do this, how the phases of the moon. But unless you believe in it, unless you believe in yourself as a witch and you trust yourself as a witch, your magic's not going to work anyway. Like, that's the biggest part. So when I sat down and the moon phases, and I've got my little thing here. I've even got it here, like the wheel of the year. Oh, yeah, we're going to look at all of this. Oh, yeah, this is great. And it's like, yeah, but if those ladies are sitting with me and they're doing their Reiki training and they don't think that's a part of themselves as a witch, and they have to separate the healer part and the magical part and hide that bit, then no magic is going to be as powerful as it could be, because you're kind of disowning those bits that are the powerful bits. So as I'm sitting there going, yeah, I'll talk to them about the moon phases and the wheel of the year. Oh, it's only an hour. It'll fly by. And it's like, I'm looking at the clock now. It's only 7:15. It's like, oh, fuck. This is so scary. But I'll carry on. So nervous laugh. Yeah, nice. I can watch this back later and enjoy the pleasure twice, can't I? That's great. But so I thought we'd start at the beginning. Next month, we are going to cover some of those things. Next month, we're going to cover the wheel of the year, the moon phases, the basics of magic, and like why we celebrate the Sabbats, why we even have those magic days at the academy, and what we do in them. Like, why are we doing that? Because it's the ancient way. So we're going to look at that. And then we're going to also look at the elements, and we're going to do calling the corners. And like that part we do when we open the circle? Well, there's people in our coven that have never done that. They've never stood there and held their knife and their wand and called the corners in. So we're going to do that too, because we want you to be we want you to learn so you can do your own magic. Like, so we're going to do all those kind of things. So it's going to get built. I also want to bring some spell work in and some different things. Writing your own spells. I love writing spells, but it took me a few years to feel like they were worthy. I'd go and look in a book, and then I'd think, my ego would kick in, and I think I can do better than that. So I'd amend the spell. And that's how I started doing it. But we want you to be doing that. So we're going to build up to those kind of things. But today we're going to look at the witch, the archetypes of the witch, and what a witch is. So, breath. Ancient people, our ancient ancestors, whether we're Scandinavian, whether we're Latin American, whether we're Celts, like my witchcraft side, my witchy part, I feel is Welsh. Like, I'm always on the Great Orme, always. Like I'm in Wales when I'm Rhiannon when I'm in my witchy place. And yes, there's the Bruja from Spain, but it's all that Celtic tradition. So all of our ancestors practiced witchcraft, in a sense. In fact, most of our festivals and celebrations are witchcraft. Putting a tree up in your house and covering it in lights at Christmas, witchcraft. Celebrating with eggs and all Easter, witchcraft. Like there's so many witchcraft practices that we all partake in. And at its basic level, any thought and any use of words is witchcraft. It's called spelling for a reason. When we spell words out, we spell words, literally. So we're always doing magic, but our ancient roots were in nature. We're in the wheels of the year. We're in the cycles of the year, the cycles of the moon. And they were so intrinsic to the magic that our ancestors did. We lived that way. Everything was our space in this world. And we were part of a big cycle. We were part of nature. And we took what we needed. We didn't take more than that. And we tended the earth. It was a give and take, a receive and give relationship, not like it is now. And so when people are laughing and ridiculing your beliefs and your thoughts and how sensitive you are and how you can feel the trees and the animals and you get upset because somebody's hacking down their hedges or the dog's been run over and you feel it like intensely, it's just a dog. Like you're not the one that's wrong there. You're the one that's completely in touch with who you are, that's in touch with your sensitivity and what makes you a beautiful human being, a soul inside this body, right? You're in touch with that. Those people that can't see that, those people that think you're nuts because you hug a tree, they're the ones that are disconnected. They're the ones that are not connected to their true roots. We are. This is ancient stuff. So to be a witch is to understand that, to understand that all life has a purpose here, to understand that animals are just as welcome. It's all of those things. There's so much that makes us a witch. But ultimately, the reason we celebrate the moon phases and the wheel of the year is because as witches, we understand that we're part of nature and nature is part of us. The reason we call the elements into a magic circle is because we are the elements. The air that I breathe, the blood in my bones, like that's the earth. We are all of those elements. We are all of those things. That's why we call them in. So when we understand this at its truest nature, then it lessens the shame because it's not us that's the crazy weird one. It's the people out there that have no idea that the trees talk to each other or that animals feel feelings like human beings. I feel sorry for those people. I really do, because they don't understand. And so that's being a witch. Every witch I know is an empath and is a healer and is a natural. They have those natural parts of themselves. We're naturally the caregivers, the caretakers. We're usually the people that get trampled on, which is why our ancient ancestors looked at all the parts, all the archetypes, the fierce ones like the sorceress and the bits of us that take no fucking shit and go, I'm not having this. They're the bits we've buried because society says it's not ladylike. Women shouldn't be angry. Women shouldn't be this. Oh, we swear like a trooper. All of this bullshit that we've lived with for centuries. We've buried those parts of ourselves so deeply sometimes that it's really hard to reconnect with them. So the archetypes. The archetypes of the witch, well, they are so powerful. The archetypes of the witch are all the elements of us as women, really. And they're vast and very powerful. So as we're looking at them, I want you to see which ones you identify with. So there are parts of these archetypes, there's 5 of them. There are parts that I'm just discovering. The creatrix is one that I'm not that connected with. I've never had children, so I've never birthed anything from my womb. Whenever we do creative pursuits, any magical classes, I'm always in Gemma's going, let's make this and let's do this. Oh, fucking hell, do we have to? I can't stand crafts. I'm really getting into it because it's a part of me that I've buried. I meet a lot of people who've buried the sorceress and the dark part, the shadowy parts. And I know some of you have really started to embrace them, Big shout out to my daughter there. Ho, yo, yo. Because they're the parts of us that we banished. But you know what? If somebody had actually said at that point when you were struggling with all that shadow stuff, oh my God, this is just your sorceress. She just needs a little bit of airtime. It would have felt very different than, oh, by the way, you're fucked up inner child's taking over the show. Like, no. She's just the front man for the sorceress because the sorceress feels dangerous. So all of those bits. And when we actually start, and this is the crone is when we embody all these bits, we start to bring them all online. And for some of you who are seekers, and that's lots of you, who are never quite satisfied and always want to know more, and the knowledge, the wisdom gatherers, you know who I'm talking to. That's why. You're fulfilling all these parts of yourself as the witch. You're fulfilling all the different bits of what it means to be a woman, a witch, a powerful, intuitive human being. So when we understand these bits, it makes sense of some of the bits of ourselves that we bury. And I think for me, the biggest journey into my power and being powerful as a witch, as a woman, as a healer, as all of those archetypes has been self-acceptance. Has been actually realizing that the things that I was told that were not good about myself are my magic. For example, my pigeon, my spirit animal pigeon. And recently, I'm pleased to say, a wolf and a panther have joined me. But for many, many years, I had a pigeon and a squirrel, and everyone else had fabulous beasts and bears and eagles and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, here comes my pigeon. And what that pigeon signifies is the person that takes everybody under their wing and looks after people, the person that can spot a vulnerable person and take care of them. But as a child, I was ridiculed. My mum always used to say, there's something at the door for you. What have you dragged home now? Another waif and stray? All these negative comments that were aimed at the fact that I was that sensitive, caring person. Those parts of me were made to feel very, very bad, like that was wrong and weak, and there was something wrong with me for being that caregiver. And so this is how these things happen. But actually, that's a part of me. Well, that's a part of me that is what I do, as well as who I am, like the healer. But for many years, it was not acceptable, not in my family. In fact, it still isn't to a certain degree. It's still belittled. And I know that all of you probably have some shame about parts of you that are this witch, the parts that you've buried over the years. And you might be really in touch with some parts of it, and other parts might feel uncomfortable. And you know me. So if we're going to do anything, we're going to do it properly. So we're not just going to flannel around the surface and just talk about the fluffy bits. We are in more weeks to come. But I think knowing who you are as a witch and which bits are there and which bits are identifying which witch you are, I think knowing that sets a really good grounding for everything we're going to learn. And I think it's really important. So we're going to look at it. So I was looking today because what I'm also going to do every month is recommend some books and stuff. Like I love getting a new book. And some of my mentors have recommended some amazing books to me that I don't think I'd ever have found without them sort of guiding me. So I'm going to start with some of the basic ones because it's amazing. It wasn't that long ago that I ended up with a copy of the work by Byron Katie. And in healing circles, that's a book that's talked about all the time. And for 20 years, I've been hearing that, and I've never had a copy. I think it's a bit of the rebel in me that goes, yeah, well, if everyone else has got it, I don't want it. But then I got a copy. Oh, my God, I can see why it's the basis of most healing works. But I was late to the party, just like I was late to the party with quite a lot of things. Savage Daughter, which I was playing when some of you arrived. I didn't know that song. Victoria shared it. And I'm like, how did I not know this? And I actually said to Gemma recently, if there's any other of these things that I don't know about, can you please send me a list of everything that I like, a catch up? Catch me up witchcraft, please, from all the ancient things. Can you just send them all to me in a download? Because there are, like, it's wrong to ever assume anything. So when we assume that people know things, or well, this is just the basics. No, it might be something that people don't know. So I'm going to cover all of it. But I was looking at books today, and I was looking at Witch by Lisa Lister, which is one of the ones I'm going to recommend today. And in there, she says, the witch represents the part of each of us that has been censored, ignored, punished, and demonized. It is the woman in her power, the woman who uses her voice, the woman who stands up for what is right, the woman who knows herself. She is the caregiver to the world, the sensitive who connects with nature, the healer, the mentor, the mystic. She knows there is more to life than what we can see, and she feels it all. She is intuitive and raw. And I thought, wow, that's really powerful, because that is what it is to be a witch. To be a witch, like when we opened that place, we got quite a lot of stick, and we got some funny comments from people, such as, "Oh, I've got my crucifix just in case," and it was kind of shocking, really. In 2024, when there are kids in America identifying as cats, and their teachers have to let them meow and poo in a litter basket, yet being a witch is still a massive stigma, and that shows you how far there is to go, really. But there is definitely a waking of the witch. Like, it's happening everywhere, and we could not have ever imagined the amount of interest that we'd have got there, and the amount of people that are curious and are drawn to it, even if they're a bit scared. So there are people who've come and gone, "Oh, I think it's a bit much for me. It's a bit too raw. I thought it'd be a bit softer." And yeah, not many, but there are a few who've come and thought, "Oh, this is a little bit much. I'm not ready for this." And that's happened with my healing stuff. People have come and then they've not come back. And then maybe 12 months later, they've come and gone, "Do you know what? All that stuff you said, I'm ready now." And it's happened with quite a few of my clients that they've disappeared and then they've come back, because we have to be ready. So, but at this time in history, there are so many women who are waking up. And waking up to the witch. You can see it. It's everywhere. The fact that a lady like Lisa Lister is writing books like this, and they are flying off the shelves, that wouldn't have been allowed. So it's rising. Witches are rising. Women are rising. I could fill a whole hour about that. But we're going to look at the archetypes. So I'm going to read through these archetypes. Now, I want you to notice which ones you really strongly identify with and which ones you maybe don't. I also want you to know which ones feel really magnetic, like they're drawing you in. Which ones do you like the idea of, and which ones feel less compelling? Because it's quite telling. Although we're all of these archetypes, we're definitely more some than others. We embody them. And like I say, we go through phases maybe in our lives where we embody them, or we embody them at different parts of our lives. And some people never embody all of them. So some people are here to do different roles, but they're in all of us, all these parts. And when all of these parts can work together, my God, are we powerful as women? Terrifying. And, we don't have a lot of friends, and all our family don't speak to us any longer, and all of these kind of things, but we're powerful as women. It's just difficult for people to accept that kind of a woman. And when they meet them, it's usually quite rattling, for women as well as men. But you know what? The more of us there are, the less rattling it is for other women. And if we all stand together and we're side by side rising in this power, and not in that wounded feminine of the spite and the bitchiness and the attack and the competition, then my God, can we change the world? And this is why it's so important to know who we are, and to also know it's acceptable to be every fucking part of yourself and to feel everything you feel. And yes, I will swear, because I fucking do. Not as much. I've been very good today. But these archetypes. So let's have a look at them. Firstly, the force of nature. She who cannot be controlled. This is the cyclical being with ebbs and flows. She connects with the moon, with the cycles of nature, the wheel of the year, the seasons. She knows death. She knows rebirth. She knows her own body. And she knows the power of Mother Earth, the mother who stands up for her kids against an unjust system, the powerful lioness that resides inside of you, the wild woman, the forerunner, the wolf, the banshee, the crazy bitch, These are the power, the force of nature. Now, I think if you're mothers, you've probably felt this kind of fierceness inside of you at some point. If you've been bullied, I'm not a mother. I do have stepchildren though, and I do have a niece. And I tell you what, this comes out in me with animals. So probably most of you have heard the story about me punching the man at Malaga Airport. Well, I saw this guy and there was this little beautiful dog in a little basket going yap, 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 yap. And this man punched this dog in the face. And the next thing I know was Peter got hold of my arm and was going, leave it, leave it. And this guy's going, get me the guard here, because he wanted the police. Because I just punched this man and I have no all I saw was him punch the dog. That's it. The next thing I know, oh no. And I'm having a conversation with quite a tasty Spanish police officer, although he was armed with a very large gun. So that was quite intimidating. However, it's not right to meet violence with violence, so I'm not condoning it. However, that's the force of nature. The fuck, that's wrong, bang, I don't care about the consequences. But it's also the fact that we know we go with the flow. You know, when you're premenstrual or when you've just had a fucking enough and people are taking the piss and that thing comes out of you that goes, rah, and then you get guilty and you punish yourself after. That's the force of nature. But you know what? That's the thing that's changed history. That's what they were channeling when they were fighting for the vote. That's all of this through history, where women have changed, where women have gone from being whatever we were and so repressed to now has been because of women who are a force of nature and who let that part of themselves out. So how much do you let that bit out? How much do you bury that part? How much do you sit back and not say what you should say? Like, it's hard. I know it. I've been having a thing with my neighbours and their dogs. They're in a very small kennel all day. And we know that the neighbours next door have complained and we know that nothing happened and that they started punishing them. And there was all this thing and it's been going on for 6 years. And it horrifies me. And I recently upset my mother's neighbours by complaining about their treatment of their dog. And then they've been punishing her ever since. And so there was this like, oh God, what do I do? But we have to stand up for what's right, don't we? So we have to report it. We have to stand up for the people that haven't got a voice. And so that's the force of nature. And I understand it's not always possible. But I think it's definitely one of my strengths. And it's another thing that's been punished. It's happened recently with a situation in our family and I want to speak up and it's not right and something needs to be done and we shouldn't ignore it. And everyone's going, don't rock the boat. Don't say anything. Don't rock the boat. It's like, fuck off. That's what got this is what we've done through everybody's lives. We're not doing that anymore. We're dealing with things head on and we're facing them and we're supporting each other. That's what we're doing. So that's the force of nature. And I think I can see, of all the people I can see on this screen, all of you have that in spades. I see it in all of you. Like, there's so much power in you women. So that's the one, the force of nature. The death doula is probably in the force of nature, all those cycles. Okay, so how much do you identify with her? And then we've got the creatrix. So the creatrix, she who dreams, manifests and makes magic. The creator of life. Our womb space is a powerful portal. We can be the creator of joy, health, harmony, abundance. Women are constantly creating and making something from nothing. That is one of our most powerful gifts. Creating a home out of a house. Creating a meal for our family out of ingredients. Creating magic in our own way. We are always creating. Every word we speak is a spell. That's why we call it spelling. Casting spells, manifesting affirmations. These are all our creative powers to change our reality. So if we're sitting there in a space of powerlessness, which, don't get me wrong, in this world, it's really freaking easy to feel powerless because there's so much that we can't change. There's so much that we can't control. There's so much out there that makes us feel powerless. But actually of our own lives, of our own situations, yes, if you get them little chills going down your spine, that's a little message there. Ooh, are you listening? That's what we do have power to change things. the amount of times that that you guys have come in and gone, oh my God, I did that spell and this has happened. Oh my God, I did that spell and this has happened. And one of the ladies who joined Coven 4 came back and she went, oh my God, you won't believe how my life's changed since last month. It's like, wow. And there was a part of me, I'm going to be very honest, this is really honest, that was a bit envious of how much faith she had in all of her stuff. That, like, I did that one spell and my whole life's changed. And it's like, I wish that happened for me. Like, but you know what? This is also a part of myself that hasn't been nurtured. There are other parts of myself that have been really nurtured. This part, not so much. This is the creatrix. This is the bit that goes, oh, fucking hell, Gemma, do we have to do crafts again? And it's like, yeah, this is the part of me that hasn't born children. So those things are going on. But I know some of you are massively creative. I know some of you are really creative. I know some of you create beautiful, amazing images and pictures that we've actually got in the Wild Women's Academy. Chloe. But I know, I know all of you are very creative. So how do you identify with that bit of yourself? This is one of the bit that I'm giving a bit more room to, a bit more airtime to. It's my creatrix. How are you relating to yours? We're trying to bring her out. See, Gemma brings her up in every one. Oh, we're going to do this next month. We're planting seeds. We're doing seed spells. So we're doing all planting seeds. And it's like, oh God, compost. Really? In here? It's going to make a right mess. It's good to get in the earth. Yes, she's right. She's right. This is why working with her is so powerful, because we're different elements coming together and it helps. So I'm going to get planting as well. That's good. The next part, the oracle. I think we all like the idea of the oracle. She who trusts her intuition and sees all things, the seer, the psychic, the person who has foresight. Foresight is a funny thing. So I used to be the person at one time where people would ring me and ask me where their keys were, and I would tell them exactly where their keys were. And those powers and abilities to just see things were incredible. And as I've gone deeper into my healing stuff, I don't have that as much. Maybe it's because I don't practice it as often, but it just seems to have lessened and other things have stepped forward. This is what I mean about them changing, and you sort of come into a power and then it maybe fades into the background a bit while you work in another area. So the oracle. So your intuition, your clairs are your superpowers. So I think we're going to revisit the clairs, and we might even do a class on it in this, because really going into each one of those, clairvoyance, clairaudience, like the clairsentience, what we're feeling, which is the one my favorite of all, the arsehole clair, the claircognizance. I just fucking know. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. That's that. But that knowing, these clairs are intuition. Okay. So the oracle, your intuition, your clairs are your superpower. As a woman, you are naturally intuitive. As a witch, you learn how to harness that skill, to trust yourself and your own knowing, your own magic. The oracle is the seer, the psychic. She gives wise counsel and guides others. She learns to work with and increase her intuition. She listens to her inner knowledge and learns to trust it. Now that one, I think all of us have that. And we have it in spades. And when I'm working with people and I go, first answer, don't censor yourself, first answer. And they come out with the absolute most incredible wisdom you've ever heard. But what happens is the incredible wisdom comes and it goes, this is the incredible wisdom. And you go, oh no, I can't say that. Give me something less wise and something more acceptable to society. And then that answer comes and that's what you say. So we're constantly doing this and censoring ourselves. And that doesn't help to trust ourselves. Also, social media, massive problem in trusting the oracle, because other people have an opinion. So we share something that we think is wonderful and magical, and then other people go, oh, well, that's not right. And then we get, self-doubt. Or the people around us go, well, that's not this, and that's not this, and and we go, and we shrink all of it. So the best thing you can ever do to encourage your oracle is to write down every intuitive feeling and thought. Like when you think, oh, that's going to happen to there. Oh, that's going to happen there. Oh, well, I just know this is going to happen. don't, like, when we speak it out, we have the opportunity. I do it all the time, though. I tell Pete all the time. It's now got to the point where Pete, if I say it now, Pete will actually go, well, if you think that, then it probably is. So it works in my favor eventually. But for many years, people dismissed it and told me that it wasn't true. And what I learned was self-doubt. And then it would come true and I'd think, I was right, but then I'd just feel hard done to. And then I would give up. So the best way we can encourage our intuition, our oracle, is to start making notes of what we pick up and what we perceive. And also to do things for ourselves like intuitive readings where we pull a card and we don't look at the message, but we look at the picture and we try and work out the message. Then we look in the book. And it's usually always the same. So little things we can do to ourselves, little tricks and little ways we can encourage that oracle. But the ultimate thing we need to do is listen to ourselves and take time to be a little bit quiet. So when we go and sit in nature and we sit under a tree and we sit and listen to ourselves, we can get really, really comfortable with ourselves doing that. We can really learn to trust our intuition. That was that's a lovely picture, John. That's a lovely, we just saw your wedding picture then. It just flashed up on the screen. That's so cool.
Oh,
I don't know how, but it did. In a little
Oh.
in a little cape. It looked amazing. It's like, wow, that's cool.
Oh, I swiped across my screen for a minute, but I didn't know that popped up.
I can see it. It was really cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So the oracle. So that part of ourselves for learning to trust. So I think the more we can get quiet and listen and record, journaling and writing down what we feel and what we're feeling about things and what we're picking up about things, and then it comes true and we go, oh, that I was right. I was right about that. Oh, I was right about that. Oh, I was right about this. The more we can actually have a diary, evidence of it, the better it is. So the oracle, how in touch with you are, how in touch with your intuition are you? That's not easy to say, as you can
Am
see.
I allowed to just say something? I'm really sorry to be rude because it's not to do with anything, but it really excites me. There's a big rainbow outside. I'm sat right by my bedroom window, and there's like a big, beautiful rainbow. Sorry.
That's
I'm
lovely.
sorry.
And I can see it on your little face, looking all sweet and rainbow-like. There's maybe
Yeah.
everybody. Oh, actually, outside, I've got the curtains drawn for dramatic effect, and the candles going and things. But outside, I can see a rainbow outside. I've just looked out the window.
Oh, now you can see past the little tree. It's not all the way up, but
Yeah, wow, that's nice. Very nice. And I can see
sorry.
and I can see all the
I
liliths.
get it off my stained glass window cover on my face.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Sorry.
How are you tuned into the oracle? Is that one that's a bit difficult? Look, a rainbow. No, it's fine. The oracle. I'm fine with the oracle. I love you. Sorry, I couldn't help notice that. My husband does that when I start having awkward conversations with him as well. Sorry, do you see that? No, I didn't. Listen to what the fuck I'm saying. Anyway, I will continue because I'm looking at the time.
Sorry.
I've got to keep this to an hour. I promised I would keep it to an hour. Okay, so the oracle. Okay, the next one is one that's very close to my heart. And that's the healer. She who heals herself and the world. And when I was talking to those ladies and they were like, oh, but my witch part is there. And then my Reiki healer part's over there. And it's like, what? But they're the same. And it's like, how can, and actually it made me laugh a little bit, and they will listen to this. And it did make me chuckle. And I laughed and I said, I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. It's just that you're sat in the Wild Women's Academy having your training with the woman who runs your coven, and you think they're separate. Is that not lost? And it was like, I hadn't really thought about it like that. It's just those parts of me, because I keep that part separate. And it's like, wow, because when we think of witch, we think of somebody who does spells and potions, but we also think of somebody, the kitchen witch, the medicine woman. That's what we think of when we think of witch, the healer. Whether that's healer with hands-on healing, or whether that's healer with making amazing balms and potions with what we find in nature. If you think about it, modern medicine, prescriptions and doctors, the patriarchy medicine, the bullshit, when the men got involved, is recent. It's in the last couple of years. Before then, it was all the women with the midwives, the women with the healers, we made all these wonderful things from nature. And if you go and look in the churchyard, this always fascinates me because it's a bit of a myth that it's only in recent times we've started to live longer. Well, that's not true. You can go and look in the churchyard and there'll be gravestones from 1400 and something, and there'll be people in there who are 80 odd years old because we did have medicine, we did have healthcare, we did have that. It was just not the pill taking, treating the symptoms that it is now. It was actually using the plant medicines that are there that are for that specific purpose. Like, you know me, I like a plant medicine. I'm a big fan of plant medicine, all plant medicines, in fact. And I am, but there's a really good reason, because if it's put on this earth, the chances are it's got a purpose and it's good for us. Apart from wasps. I think they're the exception to the rule. So the healer, she who heals herself and the world. Since the beginning of time, women healers honoured and observed the sacred cycles of nature, time and spirit. They served their communities through midwifery, spiritual guidance, hands-on healing, herbal medicine, death doulaing. They brought healing through their hands, their voices, their movements. They healed themselves and their communities with song and dance, with fire and water, with ritual and magic. There is a deep wound connected with the healer element of the witch, as we all experienced a healer holocaust during the witch hunts. So we very often bury this part of ourselves, but healing others is who we are and the most natural thing for us to do. It's the part of us that is so often identifiable as the witch, the person who rescues the animals and looks after, like, it is that part of us. And when I was looking at things, what is a witch? I found a really cool, and what did it say? It was I'll never be able to find it now because I've hidden it. Is that it? No, but it was all about how we are the caretakers of the earth. And we are, really, in all senses. So the healer is the most natural part of us. And it's not a separate part to the witch. It's who we are. So if you constantly give yourself a hard time because you're too giving and you're too kind and you're too nice and you're too soft and you're too lovely to people, that's not something to punish yourself for. That's something to take a big hand and pat yourself on the back for, because in a world that is so cruel and is telling us all the time that we should only fend for ourselves and not worry about anybody else, to be that loving and giving and healing and kind is the biggest gift. And it's also a massive gift for you. Like, I think recently I was watching some near-death things. I love them. And this one was quite a deep one. It was on Amazon. And there was this lady who'd gone up to heaven and had her life review before she came back down to earth. And she was taken into the queue. She was in the queue and there was a lady in front of her who couldn't afford her groceries, and she needed, she was American, so it's like 70 cents. And she gave this woman 70 cents. And that was it. Like less than $1 or £1 if you're in England. And that was all she did. And this was brought up in her life review of a selfless act of kindness where she didn't want anything in return, and she just gave this one and then just walked off without ever giving it another thought and not wanting anything in return. And kind of like that being the meaning of life, learning the virtues of kindness and giving and healing and compassion. And yeah, we're human beings. And also the next archetype is the sorceress, which is a bit more, but this part of ourselves, the healer, is a really powerful part. So if you're the caregiver and the caretaker and the person who looks after everyone, it's not a weakness. It's part of who you are, and it's a wonderful, powerful strength. So maybe you identify with that. Like, obviously I do. I do identify with that. Massively, I identify with that. And I think there's a healer in every witch. In fact, there's a healer in every human being. It's the first thing you do when you fall over or you hurt yourself or you've got a headache. Ow. Why'd you do that? Why'd you go, ow? Why'd you put your hand on it? Because you can heal yourself, because we all have the ability. When we're doing training and healing things, whether it's Reiki or anything else, we're opening up channels and strengthening your connection. But it's always there. You can heal yourself right now without anybody telling you anything about it, just with the intention of putting your hand there and going, I'm going to send myself some healing. And you will send yourself healing. So, and your animals, like, yes, Reiki can strengthen it and whatever else. You don't need somebody else to be able to do that. It's naturally who you are. innately, without anything. So the healer, now my favorite one. I love this one. So this part of myself, I was very connected to as a teenager. And then more recently, I've been connecting with her again. Now, very often when I hear people going through inner child work and they start talking about their teenager and how they like, this is the part that they mean. The part that was really out there. So the sorceress, nice word too, isn't it? Doesn't it conjure up pictures of Angelina Jolie looking all fucking dangerous and dark with her? Oh, the sorceress. I love this one. This is probably my favorite. She who is charmed, dangerous, and not afraid of the dark. Basically, a Scorpio moon woman is what that is. So, the shadow worker who owns the underworld and all the dark, messy emotions and transmutes them into something good, something powerful, something whole. The woman who creates magic from the apparent darkness, seduction and allure, danger and mystery, all are the sorceress. All are considered taboo by society. The sorceress is the most feared archetype of all. The power of the sorceress lies between her thighs. Yes, it does. Again, why I have 9 engagement rings. In her womb, her vagina, her sex. She is the alchemist. She has the power to change situations. She is the good and the bad, the dark and the light. She is source energy. That's what sorceress means. Source-ress. It's actually source energy. It's being an energy worker, an alchemist, transformation, transforming things with our own will. But it's also powerful, and that can be terrifying. That's what the sorceress means. You are source, and you have the power to manipulate that energy. This is when the parts of this is one of the parts of ourselves that we most often hide because it's not acceptable to society. It's the slut, the heathen, it's what modern society calls the witch, really. It's the fear that's behind the witch, although the archetype is the green, the bruised, battered woman in actual fact. But that ugly archetype, really, the fear, oh shit, that's my battery running low. Hold on. Why is that running low? Right, there we go. That's why, because I pulled the plug out. Panic stations. That's the only thing that's gone wrong so far. That's good. Touch wood, so say that. So, the sorceress. That's the part that most of us hide. This is the part that most of us deny. This is the one that likes to get drunk on wine and take off all her clothes. Only from my own personal experience, of course. You have your own version of your own sorceress. But she's probably the one that is buried more than all the other parts because we have to be the good girl. And she is the most powerful part of us as a witch. She is the part that dares to do things differently. She is the part of us that feels everything and expresses it all. She's the part of us that is the undesirable. Oh my God, have you seen that woman? She's like a screaming banshee. That's the sorceress. The one that goes, fuck you, this isn't fucking acceptable. Like, that's the sorceress. Because that is our power. So that's probably the bit that you hide the most. That's the bit that in our teenage years, we're usually in that space of the sorceress, because in that space, we are in puberty. We've come into our sexuality. We've started to explore sex, and yeah, I know most of us have had some pretty horrendous experiences with sex, and society is all fucked up as far as it comes to sex. But the one thing I do know, and I'm going to share this, even though it's a bit deep, when I work with women on a regular basis, the most common fantasy is the rape fantasy, right? Even if they've been sexually abused or abused in their life, they still tend to go towards that. And I speak from experience too, because me too. And I was sexually abused. So, and the reason is because it takes away all the responsibility. Because the deepest core wound as a woman is that we shouldn't want to have sex. We shouldn't want to feel pleasure. And actually, that makes us some kind of heathen woman if we do. So it's the part of us that we bury, and we don't allow ourselves to feel pleasure. That's why so many women, like, I hope this isn't beaming out into people's living rooms.
No, I'm
It's
in
so
the
funny.
bedroom.
But this is the part, this is why so many women can't have an orgasm or struggle to be intimate with a guy because they just don't get it. But it's because we have a shame and a guilt about having pleasure, about feeling pleasure, about enjoying it. Like, guys talk about wanking all the time when they're young lads. Like, it's a competition. Like, there's no shame in it. Oh yeah, I've had 10 wanks today. Yeah, man. Oh, high five. And it's like, yeah. I don't ever recall a group of my friends coming in and going, oh yeah, I was flicking my bean till the early hours last night, man. I don't remember that conversation because it didn't fucking happen. Because when we were doing things like that, we were doing it secretly and behind closed doors. We felt guilty for it. And that, I'm sad to say, is still the same today. Like, it's still the same. In fact, it's worse. And we've got some younger ladies in the coven, and it's sad to hear that they're having the same kind of sexual experiences as we had. Because that's where our power is. Like, we know one of our sisters who likes to manifest when she's having her orgasms, and she puts it all over Facebook, so it's not a secret, is it, Vivi? So, and it's very, very true. A lady, and Vivi's done a lot of training with Kate Lambert, who does all the pussy power stuff and women getting in touch with their sexual power. And it's powerful shit, because that there is so much power in us and if we don't feel the shame of it, actually, that is where there is so much power, that there is a universe between our thighs. There's some amazing goddessy tracks that I might post on the group that are about that kind of stuff, and they take you to that place of power as a woman. But that part of you, that sexual part that, in your deepest, darkest fantasies of what you imagine, that's the sorceress. See, I used to get in touch with her. A couple of bottles of Lambrini used to get me right in touch with my sorceress. And then I used to walk into a nightclub, spot a guy over the other side of the room, make eye contact, and when I was sure he was interested, I'd walk up to him, kiss him, and walk off. And it never failed. Never failed. But that's the sorceress. That's that. Because it's like, no woman's ever done that to me before. No woman's ever chatted me up before. Never mind walked over at a nightclub and kissed me and then just walked off. And it's like, yeah, it's the best chat line ever. So if you are young and in the market for men, I highly recommend that tip. It's very good. It definitely works every time. But that's our sorceress. That's that part of us that is bold and brave. And as she says, charmed and dangerous. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, I like that part. But you know what? That's a really important part of us, because that's also a part that helps us to move forward when we have been abused or when we've suffered it's the powerful part of us that gets us out of things, that gets us out of situations. It's the part that fights for us, that doesn't allow us to be abused. If you've been in an abusive relationship and got out of it, that's that part of you, that part in the force of nature that we're fighting tooth and nail to rescue you and save you from that situation. So she's a very valid part. And actually, of all the parts of the witch that are waking up, the sorceress is the bit that is waking up and causing the most ruckus, ruffling the most feathers, because she is the part of us that scares people the most. And she's very powerful. So maybe if you don't identify with her, then you could look into why and which bits of you. So those parts that we've talked about. So I want you to have a think about this. I want you to think about which parts that you are more connected with. Which ones of those archetypes are you more connected with? And which parts have you not yet discovered? And maybe as you're going through different cycles and different feelings and different things over the next few weeks, just notice which part of you that is, which archetype, which bit of you is in that space dealing with that shit right now. And when I had some things recently, last year I took a job in a pub, and it was several reasons. Money was one, but it was also because I'd lost the fun and I'd also forgotten who I was. And I took this job in a pub, and my lady who I was working with, Colette, encouraged me to do this. She's like, yeah, it'll be brilliant for you, because you'll be the high priestess, the sorceress, as a barmaid. And you can go in with all this magic inside you and still be a barmaid, and you can still be that person. And I didn't really know what she meant until I did it. And it's like, yeah, I can. Because I'm not that. I'm not the fact that I'm standing there serving pints. I'm something else. And it allowed me to connect with, it was a kind of a locals pub with lots of old guys who were very bantery. And there was a lot of talk about head because I was pulling pints. Oh, yes, I like a lot of head, all of that kind of thing. So I really got in touch with that rude, bantery part of myself that as a healer, when I trained to be a healer, oh, I can't do that now. And I see this so often. People are like, oh, I'm going to be a healer. Then they become a healer and they bury all those parts of themselves, all the dirty sense of humor and all the other parts of themselves, because they have to be a healer now. So they can't be all of those things. And I did that. I buried these parts of myself when I became a healer because I'm love and light now. And I'm all love and light and purple and it's all lovely. And that's kind of what I became for a little while. And I wasn't sexy anymore. Like I didn't want to have sex. I wasn't funny anymore. I lost all my sense of humor and I just became really boring and serious and miserable in all honesty because I was repressing so much. So I want you to just think about these archetypes. If you have, I will send you the emails. So I've printed some things up for you in my best corporate style. I've done you all little sheets with everything that I've spoken about today, little exercises and everything for you. So I will send those on. What I'm going to do before I go is I'm just going to show you these two books. So one is Witch by Lisa Lister. If you don't have a copy of this book, I highly recommend it. This book talks about these archetypes. It talks about basics of witchcraft. It basically is like a little book of shadows, but also a massive dose of confidence. And it's a really well written and easy to read book. It's kind of like a bit of a modern Bible. And then this has to be the worst titled book I've ever heard of. It's called The Rich and Healthy Witch. Terrible title, terrible. And it's by somebody called Starfields. Now, I'm hoping you can still get this in print. This was one of the first books about witches, like a modern day book that I ever bought. And it's phenomenal. And it talks about similar things, the archetypes of the witch, but it talks about our otherness. Talks about being different. And she tells a story about her friend who was in a park and there were some boys playing cricket with frogs, live frogs. And her friend was distraught. And she talks about that. And it was the first time that I'd ever read anything from anybody else who had the same kind of feelings as me. Like that was like, oh, there's other people who have this too. And it was absolutely phenomenal. I was quite young when I had this book, but it's the essential survival guide for magical people. And if she'd called it that, I think it would have been a million bestseller. But it's an amazing book if you can get hold of a copy of it. And the last thing I'm going to do for you is I'm going to pull a card for all you ladies that are on here. And these cards are my favourite deck. I don't have these. We do sometimes use them. They are The Sacred Hag's Oracle by Daniel Dulski. And I absolutely love these cards. What is? Shit me! That Witch and the Rich and Healthy Witch. Oh, well, if I didn't love it so much, I'd sell it you for 60 quid. Fucking hell. Okay, we'll get the Witch one by Lisa Lister because that's about, I think that's about a tenner, maybe a bit more. Oh, it's, yeah. Well, I have to say, if my copy disappeared, I probably would pay £78 for another copy. That's how much I like it. However, that's a piss take, isn't it? Okay, so this is a card for my witches, for us tonight and our archetypes. So I love these because of the messages. Oh, we've already got the, yeah, see, most of you are ahead of the game. Already got the Lisa Lister one. Okay, so we're going, oh, okay. So we've got Hag of the Salt Altar. There she is. Okay, Hag of the Salt Altar, number 12. Oh, God, this is tiny letters. Well, we'll see if we can read this one with our blindness. Oh, this is the card of grief. So not the happy, wonderful, powerful message I was kind of hoping for when I pulled this. But I'm going to be true to them and not put it back in and pull another one because that's what we're supposed to do. And we're going to look at the words. So we grieve because we love something so well. Be it a soft-bodied pet, a relationship, a grandmother, a way of being in the world, or a potent place. We grieve because we were struck so completely by this thing we have now lost and we must trust in the medicine of this ache. The human animal grieves, and those things we have lost want the gift of our attention and our stories. Do not let them tell you to wear your black dress for a day and be done with it. Hold that grief so tenderly in your heart and let it mark you. Know that you set the world know that you see the world so much more fully for having met grief, and tell the stories of those losses, of those inherited wounds, of the myths that have failed to fruit. Maybe we're all in that phase. Like I say, not the happy ending I was hoping for, ladies, but we're going with it. Now, there is a moonlit ritual for this. If you have time to devote to a wild walk in the holy evening, do so with a mind to find a small object that feels wounded to you. What? Perhaps it's I see, a wounded object, something in nature, a broken stone, a wounded acorn, a capless acorn, or a bit of charred wood seems to ache like you ache during these potent times. No need to rationalize your choice, but do ask the object's permission to take it home with you and offer it care. Take nothing that still grows. Leave those treasures be. Choose a small and sacred reminder that all of the world is a boneyard, that grief is a sacred construct that gifts our memories with depth and charges us with gratitude. Upon your return home, place this object on your altar or a sacred space, like a candle for it. Speak spontaneous poetry for your wounded and decrepit find, for the yet to be born, for all that you have loved. Say these words for yourself. As I say, not the ending I'd hoped for, but we'll go with it. Maybe we are all in this space, and maybe that space is how we birth all these new parts of ourselves. So, the powerful witch that you are, notice which bits you abandon, because that's the truth, and notice which bits you accept. And maybe this week, this month, maybe we'll do this weekly, make an effort to embrace one of those parts that you maybe shun, to do something to embrace one of those parts. I will send you all the bits and pieces on email. So you've got all the stuff that I printed out, all the stuff we talked about, all the archetypes. Okay, ladies. Well, we got through that. There we go. See? Winner, winner. We got through that. So how are we all doing? Is that okay? Are you all right?
Brilliant.
Is anyone still there? Am I by myself?
Thank you, Jen.
Absolutely loved it.
Well, I'm sure I'll get better as we go along, eh? It's all practice.
Oh, no, that was really good.
Hey?
That was really good. I don't know why you were nervous.
I don't know either. If you were there in person, it wouldn't be nerve-wracking. It's videos.
Yeah.
I'm not very keen on videos, but
Yeah.
I've got to get used to it. I'm doing a lot of training at the moment. We've got to record all these things, and it's like, oh God, it's my face. I've always had a thing with like my appearance and stuff. So it's a big, and I can't see it because all I can see is your face. Like I haven't seen my face big once, which is good. I prefer that. I saw a really funny meme. I'll post it in a minute on Facebook, but it said, it's a picture of Blanche out of the Golden Girls going, me looking at myself in that small window when I'm on Zoom. And it's like, yeah, normally I'm there going, oh, yeah, pet a bit, pet. And tonight I can't see myself, which is really good. All I can see is two lights on either side and like this halo in the background. So I look extremely angelic. You can't tell I haven't washed my hair or anything. I look great in that. When I'm an inch wide, I'm only an inch big, I look fabulous. I think I should shrink myself down to an inch. All of my chores and duties in life. Okay, ladies, does anyone have any questions before we exit?
No, thank you for that, Jessie.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessie.
Brilliant.
Very welcome.
Thank
And
you
my
very
rainbow
much.
vanished.
Can I have a look? Oh, your rainbow's gone now, has it? Yeah, it served its
Yeah.
purpose now, love. It's fine. That's so funny. Oh, I snorted. That's funny. Well, I love you all. I will I'll see if I can send this recording, so we'll see how that pans out. So the next one I've booked a date for, which is the 15th of May. I wrote it down because I thought if you don't do it, you won't ever do another one. Yes, Wednesday the 15th of May. So we're going to look at all the things. We're going to look at the wheel of the year and the cycles of the moon and all of those kind of things. But
Is it the
also,
same time?
if it, yeah, same
Is it
time,
the
7
same
till
time?
8. Yeah,
Okay, lovely.
if that's good. If anybody would like to guest star and do a little thing about whatever they, if anybody would like to do any magic, Victoria, if you'd like to do a guest, if you'd like to do a guest spot, anyone would like to do that, just let me know. But yes, it's been lovely to spend time with you. I actually might do it weekly. I'm feeling, I might get into this and be doing them all the time. You'll be so bored of me.
That's
Another single
right.
one. Okay, my lovelies. It was so lovely to see you all.
Take care,
I'll see you
Jessie.
soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. I don't know how
Bye.
to end it.